What's up and welcome to the single player experience. As always, I'm your host Sebastion Mauldin and today I'll be giving you the indie game recommendation of the week. This week, that game is the indie known as the Lil Gator Game. So why am I recommending this game? Find out right after the intro. DJ, start the intro, man. There isn't anything like a game that displays a lot of heart. The latest example of this is the Lil Gator Game. As kids, we've all played in one form or another using our imaginations. Some of us used our imaginations to become knights, Jedis, princesses, and everything else under the sun. The Lil Gator Game takes that concept, infuses it with a heartfelt narrative, and then adds some gameplay elements from Breath of the Wild. So, is this a game that you should check out? Who is this game for? Let's dive into it. Let's start with the narrative. In Lil Gator Game, you play as a little gator who just wants to play with his big sister who's home from college. Life happens and she has a lot of schoolwork to do, but you love spending time playing with her, so you come up with a plan to convince her to drop the schoolwork and play a game with you. Lil Gator recruits his friends to join in on the plan, and next thing you know, everyone around you is in on creating a role-playing fantasy adventure. Next thing you know, the whole island is filled with cardboard enemies for you to slay and quests for you to do. You go on these quests around the island, all for the goal of having an adventure that creates a strong enough pull that Lil Gator's big sister can't resist joining in on the fun. This game features a sweet story that hits you right in the feels. If you like a cozy story, then this game is going to be right up your alley. So, let's talk about the gameplay. Besides the game's solid narrative, the best feature about Lil Gator Game is the gameplay. Every action simply feels good to do. The game plays a lot like Breath of the Wild. For example, the stamina climbing mechanic, the way you parachute and glide, and the way you skate using your shield, and the way you swing your weapon all feels like it did in Breath of the Wild. It makes the game feel familiar, but the distinct art style, narrative, and characters here prevent the game from feeling like a cheap imitation. In Lil Gator Game, you have a melee weapon that you can use to quote-unquote cut down the steel cardboard cutout enemies like monsters, plants, and evil bats. The cardboard foes don't move, nor do they pose any real threat to you. However, there is a satisfying feeling you get to give them that good old-fashioned beatdown. When you defeat one of these cutout foes, you earn the game's currency that you can use to deck out the Lil Gator in various cosmetic gear. Now let's talk about exploration. This game is all about exploration and getting lost in that adventure. The island that you explore is deceptively big and offers a sizable amount of things for you to do. For example, you can try to beat the various speed trials that are all around the island. Some consist of racing to the finish line, while others involve you defeating the enemies around you before time expires. The island itself is full of different environments, all of which have something interesting for you to see or do. As you explore, you'll meet many people, most of whom will have a fetch side quest for you to do. These quests are all quick, and all fit with that main objective. I also want to shout out that there are some really cool pop culture references in this game. A Naruto one in particular made this anime fan smile big. Now, let's talk about some of the flaws of this game. One of the flaws of the Lil Gator Game is that this game isn't simply going to be for everyone. If you want a game that's action-packed, then this game simply isn't going to be for you. So if you're not a fan of cozy games, this game also isn't going to be for you. Another flaw of this game is that it's not going to appeal to those who are looking for a challenging experience. While it does have some areas, particularly when it comes to platforming, that will take you a few attempts, there's nothing here that will give you a real challenge. The last major flaw of this game is that there isn't a map or a mini-map available to help you navigate around the island. I get wanting exploration to be the primary focus, but it is immensely easy to get lost in this game. It's not the end of the world, but be prepared to get turned around on more than a couple of occasions. So, overall, should you play Lil Gator Game? If you're a fan of cozy games, then the answer is a definitive yes. This is a chill indie game that has taken some of the elements from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, like its gameplay, and used them to create a game that will likely stick with you. This game is touching, thought-provoking, and simply fun. While it won't be for everyone, the Lil Gator Game is a short and sweet experience that's very easy to recommend. In this show, we practice the 10 games backlog rule. In this practice, you log down 10 games. Those games are going to be your video game backlog. To be as productive as you possibly can be, we recommend that you only play 3 games at one time. One single player narrative game, one game that's going to be your chill and relax game, and another game that's going to be your palate cleanser game, which is a game that you play when you're not in the mood for your other narrative games. When you complete or get tired of one game, it leaves the backlog list. Then you decide which new game is added to the list, and which game on the list advances to your active 3 games. So, where should Lil Gator Game fit in your video game backlog? This is a game that should primarily be your main focus or your palate cleanser game. It's your short and sweet story, and also a dope game for those who like cozy games and like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If any of those elements sound like it's up your alley, then you should definitely check out Lil Gator Game and add it to your video game backlog list. So, that is the game recommendation of the week that you should consider adding to your backlog list. If you want me or my community of gamers to give you feedback on your backlog list, then join us in the Single Player Experience Discord server. Once you're in, feel free to share your video game backlog list, or talk about good single player game experiences that you've had lately. The link to join the free Single Player Experience Discord server is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.